Somewhere between your front door and wherever you were going this morning, you thought about turning around. Not because anything was wrong, just because forward felt heavy. That feeling has a name. It has had a name for a very long time. In 170 AD, on the northern frontier of the Roman Empire, the most powerful man in the world was writing in a journal before dawn. Private notes to himself that nobody was supposed to read. Marcus Aurelius was camped on the banks of the Danube River, commanding a war against Germanic tribes that had dragged on for years. The cold was brutal. The conditions were brutal. The men around him were soldiers. He was a philosopher who had been handed an empire he never asked for. And every morning, before any of them woke, he lit a lamp and wrote. He wrote about the pull of the warm blanket, the weight of the morning air, the voice that whispers, "Not yet." Stay. What is one more hour? What does it matter? He was the emperor of Rome, commander of the greatest military force in the ancient world, and he still had to argue himself out of bed. He called it the resistance of the flesh against the will, and he did not moralize about it. He did not feel ashamed or call himself weak. He wrote it down the way an engineer writes down a problem. Here is the obstacle. Here is the system I use to overcome it. What he built was not motivation. It was structure. He understood something that modern science would not confirm for nearly 2,000 years, that the self which has to override inertia is not infinite. It is a resource, and it depletes. Every decision you make costs something. Every act of resistance draws from the same well, and the well runs dry. In 1998, psychologist Roy Baumeister ran a series of experiments at Case Western Reserve. People who had to resist eating cookies before a task gave up faster on difficult puzzles than people who had not been tempted at all. The act of resistance itself had used something up. Marcus Aurelius did not have the language for this, but he had already solved it. He did not ask himself each morning whether he felt like getting up. That question had already been answered. The night before, the week before. The ritual existed precisely so that the decision did not have to be made again. He removed the choice, because a self that must choose everything, every morning, from scratch, is a self that will eventually run out of choosing. You are not alone in feeling what you felt this morning between your front door and the world outside it. You are not broken. You are just spending yourself in the wrong order, using your best resource on the first thing instead of protecting it for what actually matters. Marcus figured this out on a frozen riverbank 2,000 years ago, wearing armor, leading men into a war he found meaningless. He still got up, not because he wanted to, because he had already decided he would. The resistance you felt this morning, it is the cost of having a self that has to choose everything. That's where we'll leave it for today. Thanks for thinking alongside me. Until next time.